Hello and welcome to the Canadian Science Policy Conference of 2022. My name is Victor Lototsky and I am joined here today by Dominique Bérubé, the newly appointed Vice President of Research and Graduate Studies at Concordia University. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
So you just finished a 7-year mandate at the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, or SSHRC, as the Vice President. You just started your new position as the Vice President of Research and Graduate Studies in Concordia. Add that to your previous experience at l'Université de Montréal. And it's quite clear that you have extensive knowledge of the research ecosystem, not only in Quebec, but also across Canada. So with that, what do you think are the grand challenges affecting the research ecosystem in Canada right now?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much also for having me for this interview. It's really my pleasure to be joining. Yeah, it's true that it did provide me, just before I discuss the question itself and the challenges, having that sort of a passage through to the government of Canada really provided me with a vision that I didn't have when I was on the other side of the ecosystem. I just remember being always on the receiving side of all these policies that the government was trying to implement, and being part of the government and trying to translate the political will into these programs and then to explain them to the community really gave me sort of a different understanding of exactly how to read the government and the challenges that the government is facing. And I think the universities have enormous successes over the last few years. The growth has been exponential, and we've seen also that across all the ecosystem in Canada, from the small universities to the largest one, to the colleges, all have managed to develop niche activities, create little pilot projects that are very different, that makes a difference in the community that they're working with. But at the same time, they're all isolated little initiatives that they're promoting by themselves, a bit like research, a bit like the research themselves is being conceived in Canada. You know, you provide funding for research to researchers in Canada. They think about what they want to work with. They develop their ideas, their science. They develop new knowledge, and then they try to sell it to someone, sort of the pass model. And the universities grew like that also. You know, trying to find all kind of new initiatives where they could distinguish themselves a lot to attract the best talent. And I think that was highly successful, as we can see that Canada now can attract the best students across the world. But the government of Canada has some other problems. They need to resolve pressing issues, pressing challenges, and they're trying to make the universities move with them in resolving these challenges. And of course, it started with the pandemic and our capacity to produce vaccines, where they did manage to move the universities, but with enormous amount of money invested. So I think that's where the challenge is that the research ecosystem is facing, is that how can the universities better understand what the government wants? How can they better respond to it? And how can the government also, because there's also challenges on the other side, the government also needs to understand the mandates of each of the institution. You know, you can't ask an organization to do something that is not their mandate. And that's also something that's intriguing.
Well, it's really interesting. That sort of leads me to my next question, which is one that's also often discussed here at CSPC, which is, what do you think of Canada's current research, or rather its innovation deficit, and how do you think research funding can be applied so that it's more impactful and so that it's aligned with Canada's priorities?
Oh yeah, if we all add, it's interesting. We could so many panels during this conference were tackling that difficult question, and it's been discussed in many of the previous CSPC, and that's always almost a general understanding, I should say, that yes, there is an innovation gap in Canada. Some of them identify it as the capacity for industry to scale up. Some of them, the lack of investment in R&D by the industry in general. So that's more on the industrial side. And when you go to the universities, the challenges to move science, move knowledge into a product that is useful for the society. And it's sort of the push and pull model that everybody's always discussing. The push model, where the university or the researcher thinks that their science is great and has a use in the society, and the pull model, where the industry says, but I have a problem and nobody's there to answer my question that I have. So really, and how do you make these people talk together? I think some of the initiatives that are being put forward right now are going to be extremely interesting. I think some provinces have, and of course I'm in the province of Quebec, and the Quebec government has invested pretty heavily in what they will invest pretty heavily in what they will call the zone d'innovation, innovation zones.
Yes.
And that's really about that. It's that funding the industry with their academic partners so that there's some sort of the superclusters, we're sort of trying to do this also. And we have that new investment and innovation agency that is about to be launched, and everybody's really looking forward to get more information about how this is gonna work. And I think that there is a space to provide also the universities in Canada with expanding a bit the mandate that they have. It's not just about, the universities have, of course, a critical mandate in terms of HQP, highly qualified personnel training. That's the most important output that any universities will ever produce, will be the brains that get out of the institution. But nevertheless, how do we train these brains has changed with time. And we were talking about the challenges for universities, and I think you're finishing your PhD yourself, and you're going to be asking yourself very soon, what do I want to do with that PhD? And we all know that we will not all end in an academic career, and that's great because we need these PhDs out there in different roles. But how do the universities train these PhDs, and what do they offer them in terms of a comprehensive training that will prepare them to do something else than an academic career, a traditional academic career? And that's where the universities have done some pretty important role. At Concordia, for example, we've launched the District 3 Innovation Hub, where we invite any PhDs graduate that want to build a startup to just join the community and the incubator, and we'll provide them with support to be able to develop their ideas, their knowledge into a company. And we've also launched a program that is open to all for postdoctoral fellows that will, during 2 years, not work on science, but work to become an entrepreneur. So that's quite different in terms of approach that we can do. And there's somewhere where I think the governments can really start investing. And maybe I should add also, very importantly, is that it's not all about technology and commercialization, because yes, we have a huge need in terms of that, but there's also all the social innovation ecosystem and all the public policy that we need to also bring knowledge to the policymakers and the deciders. And again, universities have developed all kinds of community engagement offices and initiatives to bring the universities to the communities and try to facilitate that community engagement. And during this conference, I think Concordia just launched the Sustainability in the Digital Age think tank, where that think tank is going to work on the implementation of the 17 sustainability development goals of the United Nations with the angle of the digital revolution and how it can support the implementation of the SDGs. And it does research, but it does advocacy. And it's that advocacy, trying to bring the faculties to get involved into that important role, to try to influence the policymakers and to bring change to the society.
I mean, as you say, I am currently looking for options after my PhD, particularly programs that are maybe less conventional, less academically focused. So Concordia's postdoctoral entrepreneurial program is something that's of great interest to me. For this next one, I'm going to shift the topic a little bit. So the theme of this year's conference is navigating uncertainty and targeting sustainability. So with that in mind, how do you think universities have navigated the uncertainties surrounding society today? And how do you think they can target the grand societal issues that we're facing right now, specifically around climate change, energy transition, and sustainability?
That's a great challenge. I think the universities are extremely interested, and of course, the structures of the universities are a strength of the universities because it brings stabilities and it brings all the capacity that we have at the moment. But at the same time, when comes the time to answer challenges, you need to be able to bring people together to answer these challenges. I'll go back to my previous role at SSHRC, where in 2018, the government invested in the creation of a new funding opportunity, which was called New Frontiers in Research Fund, and that we designed and delivered over the last few years. And one of the stream of that fund is called Transformation. And any project that wants to apply to this fund needs to first ask, what question do I answer? What challenge am I trying to resolve? Who needs to be present to be able to resolve that challenge? And how will we do it in 7 years? How will we solve that? Is it going to work? We don't know. I think they funded 12 projects up to now. But I think that's the right approach. And the Deputy Minister, Simon Kennedy, was saying the same thing yesterday at the panel of the conference, where he was really saying that we need to discuss challenges and not disciplines and everything. So I think the universities are well positioned. I mean, at Concordia, we created 3 different institutes and now a School of Health. One institute is the Institute on Applied AI, and the key word here is applied. So it's leveraging, I should say, the strength of artificial intelligence and the growth that the sector has lived in the past years, but trying to listen to the partners and say, how can we help you learn what is AI, how to use it, how not to use it, because obviously there are some ethical considerations, and really finding solutions using AI. We also have an institute for next-gen cities, and it's also about bringing the building specialists with people that are also specialists with community engagement and people living in cities. And how do you design building in cities to make sure that they're more resilient and more sustainable? So I think that the interdisciplinarity is going to be key, and that we have the tools to be able to resolve it, but it's going to take a lot of still energy and funding.
I see. Well, we're very thankful for your and Concordia University's engagement with the CSPC. Finally, what would you say are the large benefits of attending the conference?
It's very interesting because I've attended the conference for the past 7 years as a funder, of course, and always great to have a lot of our fellow departments being here and the funding agencies, and having that sudden opportunity to stop and think together about what's coming and interacting, of course, with the community that comes in. And this year, with my participation as on the other side and being there, I was absolutely fascinated by the wealth of information that you can get by participating to the conference, by listening very closely and in between the lines of what everybody's discussing and bringing. So the panels are, of course, always, that's what attracts you. You know, you look at the thematic of the conference and you decide to participate. And once you're here, great conversations.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure having this discussion with you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much, Victor. Hope you enjoy it too.